All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. May the 4th be with you. I know it's super cheesy. All right, so it sounds like in general, we're not a big Star Wars class, but that's okay. That's all right. If you haven't watched them, I do encourage you to maybe try one and stuff. And I'll do all the dance, for you and all the stupid puns. So, what can I say? It's stuff. Like I said, you're either Star Wars or back in the day when I was growing up, you were either Star Wars or Star Trek. Like you were one of two camps. Now Star Trek's not as much of a thing. So unless you kind of grow up with it and I think get invested, it's easy to be like, this is weird. But when you're hardcore, it's a big deal. All right. Today we are going to continue. So this is a Mandalorian phrase. This is the way. So they're like bounty hunters of the galaxy. So we are going to continue on our way. Oh, I'm so punny today. This is so good. I know some of you are like, please make her stop. Okay. So the way we're going to continue is we're working on our Can I Survive on My Own project. We finished the task 1 through 14 worksheet yesterday, right? So we did 1 through 3, we did 4, 5, 8, and then 9 through 12, and then 13, 14 yesterday. So we have broken that up over 4 different days and worked on that. So if you have missed that task sheet and us working on that, then you can go back and watch those live session playbacks, okay? So on last week and this week's live session page. And stuff. So today I'm going to review the Everfis that are due tomorrow. And then we're going to spend time in class working on task 6, okay, which is looking for apartments. Okay, so so the pretend scenario, right? It's time to move out. You got an apartment hunt. How do we do that? And what does that look like? So we'll work on that a little bit today. So really quick, just to review the Everfis that are due tomorrow. Okay, there's 2 that are due tomorrow. So Everfi 6 and 7. So remember, we did the first 4. So we did the tax simulation, banking basics, employment and tax and budgeting. We did those 2 weeks ago. Those are closing this Friday. So if you are behind, make sure that you go get those first 4 done. All right, because those were due 2 weeks ago. They close this Friday. So I kept them open double the time. So once they close, they will be done. Okay. And then there were 2 that were due on Tuesday. That was the consumer skills and credit and debt. So those were due on Tuesday. And then for this Friday, the last 2. Financing higher education and insurance. So the kind of orange one and the shield looking one. Okay, the shield looking one. So those last 2 are due this Friday. So basically by the end of this week, you should be completely done with financial literacy. So remember, it's in Everfi. You go in the financial literacy program and you should basically by this Friday be done with all of them. If you aren't, then you need to get them done because the first 4 close this Friday, and then the rest will close next Friday, which is the last day for all work that's still open to be turned in. And just remember with those screenshots that you're giving me the tab, the score, and your name. I need to see all 3, okay? And it has to be what percentage minimum? Let's hear it in the chat. What's the minimum percentage? What's the minimum percentage that you need to get on an Everfi assignment? Otherwise, you have to redo it. Yes, Marie, very good. Yes, JD, thank you. Yes, fill it up. Let's go, folks. Let me know you're there. Star Wars wasn't interesting. Good, Elliot. Thank you, Lucy. Yes, 70% minimum, right? Thank you, Brendan. Brendan. So 70% minimum. Okay, so make sure that you're getting those good grades. And honestly, if your grade is low and you're kind of riding the fence, redo it. Make sure you get 100%. You can redo these. Okay, 70%. If you have a low grade, 70% on an assignment isn't going to improve it much. It'll prove it a little bit, but not much. If you really want to see your grade come up, you need to be submitting good scores. Okay. Any questions on Everfi? Okay. We are going to work on Can I Survive renters portion of this. Okay. So rent. So finding a place and what are things that you want to make sure that you're looking out for. Okay. So we're going to jump over into Canvas, go into our course. And you're going to want to go here, okay? Now, there's been a couple problems with if you're on the Chromebook, if you're on the school account, it's been blocking a few things. So if you have access to something that is not a school account, or if you have your phone, you're going to need to use it to help you search apartments because for some reason the school accounts are blocking Zillow and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of a pain. Okay, so you're going to go to the Can I Survive page. So we've done majority of these. We're going to be doing number 6 today. And then on Monday, we will go over number 7 and we'll go over number 15, the last two things that you have to do, okay? So just really quick on the next page, this is where you'll submit that first tax sheet, tax 1 through 14. But remember, you skip 6, 7, and 15. So 6, 7, and 15 are separate assignments, okay? But this is where you submit it. You can see it's worth 113 points. It's due tomorrow. It is open until next Friday, and then it closes like everything else that's still open, okay? And then it breaks it down by task. So a lot of them are worth 5, some were 10. And so it really does add up. So you want to make sure that you do a good job, okay? And then the one we're going to work on today, this task 6 questionnaire, this is due here, and it's worth 55 points alone, all right? So it's worth quite a bit. We're going to research 3 properties, 15 points each, and then there's some questions that you answer on like things you want to make sure that you're considering when you're renting. That's worth 10 points, okay? So we'll go back to the task page. I'm going to go to number 6. Okay, and we're going to click on the questionnaire. Go ahead and get the questionnaire open. This is what it looks like. So give me a thumbs up once you have the questionnaire open. Good morning, Ms. Carter.
Good morning, everyone.
I'll give you, I'll put this in the chat and give you my access to this. Okay. Oh, nope, never mind. Wrong link. Put it in there again. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so once we're on this page, okay, it's stuff. So the objective is basically like kind of finding out what's out there. What can I afford? What do places look like? Okay, so we're gonna fill out renter questionnaires below. So it's a graph for each one or a chart for each one. There's 3 of them. Okay, so let's scroll down. Yours is going to be blank. I did a sample one, and I'm going to walk you through this one, and I'll give you the information, and then you're going to do 2 on your own. So the scenario is that you make $2,200 a month, okay? And that's the same thing we did on the task sheet. So let's say your income is $2,200 a month. So it's you working 40 hours a week, making $15 an hour, okay? And it's going to have you use different, you could choose any search tool that you want. I personally wouldn't use Craigslist. I like Zillow. On rent.com or Truly can be really good. I also think like Facebook Marketplace can be good. So you can use, whichever platform. If you're familiar with one, you can get all 3 properties from one platform. You don't have to go on different platforms, okay? But there's a couple guidelines when you're searching for property. So first, you want to make sure that your rent is not more than 40% of your income. So you want to make it less than 40% of your income. So let's figure that out real quick. So rent divided by income. Now, let's assume that you're going to have a roommate, okay? So for example, the first property that I found is about $1,500-ish a month. So let's talk through kind of so you know your parameters of what you need to be searching for, okay? If we're looking at that our income needs, or that our rent needs to be 40% or less of our total income. So if I have $2,200, okay, $2,200, so what you're going to do is you're going to do 2,200 times 0.4. So finding out what is 40% of my income. So if I make $2,200 a month and I times it by 0.4, which would be 40%, that gives me $880 a month. So the highest that I want to go with my rent is going to be $880 a month max. And that's going to be for my portion. So who can do the math? What's 880 times 2? Because if I have someone to split the rent with, if me and Miss Carter are going to be roommates, Miss Carter, how much total could we afford? What's 880 times 2? Anybody got it? Great, Javi. Yes, 1760. Good. So the max, when I'm doing my search, the max that I want to look for rent would be, I'd probably put 1,800, but I want to look for like 1,750 or lower, right? Yeah. No, you're great. Okay. Because my half would be 880. Now, I'd like to find something cheaper than that, but that's the max I can go to stay at 40% or less of my income for rent. Okay. So if you want to jot that down somewhere, or type it on your chart really quick that the max so total, you want to look for rents that are 1750 or lower or 1800 or lower, because your portion, right, is half of that. And you got to stay at 40% or lower of your income in rent. So we're going to look at a scenario. I looked up a sample property. Okay. So if we go to Zillow, I'll click on Zillow, and this is where some students have been having an issue. It's blocking them. If you're on a Chromebook, if you're in your Google account, it's been blocking some people, the realtor sites. So if you need to, you might need to use your phone, or if you have another device maybe that is not school related, then it should let you search. The Chromebooks are being mean. Okay, so let me take you through just kind of how to set up a basic search, and then I'll show you the sample property that I found. Okay, so I want to make sure when I go to Zillow that I select rent, because for sale, that means to buy, or sold, that would be like comparing. So you want to make sure you're at rent. Okay, pricing. So minimum, I just put 1,000. Max, I don't want to go over 1,800 because I'm looking for more like 1,750. Okay, so it'll help narrow down. And then I'm going to look for a 2-bedroom because I'm going to have a roommate, right? So I'm going to have a roommate. So I'm going to say 2-bed. I'm not going to select bathrooms because we might need to do 1 bathroom or 2. So I don't want to limit myself. So I'm just going to put apply. Okay. Housing type, I want to select all. Okay. I'm open to apartments, townhouses, houses, like condos. Like I want to see the gamut. All right. Okay. Apply. So as you can see, as you would change it, then what pops up will adjust. Okay, now I'm looking in Henderson because I live here, so I'm biased. So, I kind of looked in the Henderson area and stuff like that. Okay, so you can move this. Look, see, as you move it, it'll pop up things within your space. So let's say you live in North Las Vegas and oops, I've selected one. Oops, okay. All right, so let's say you're up here, like Centennial Hills area, okay, or something like that. So you can see you move it, and then you can even zoom in, and you can pick 3 properties within that area. You're kind of maybe looking, there's a little cheaper one. There's one for 1,500. So maybe, looking for something a little bit cheaper. So you can see different areas might have a little bit better deals than others. Okay. But obviously you want to live close to where you work. Okay. So for this example, I'm going to go back to Henderson because I picked a sample property that I'll do with you. And then you're going to do the other 2 on your own. Okay. So I looked along here. I was like, okay, I like Henderson. If I'm living in Henderson, I want something near the freeway. And so this area is kind of nice because you're close to the 95 and you're close to the 215. Okay. So I kind of like did this area like right here. Okay. And then the one that I selected it's called Bella Terra Apartment. So it's right off the 215 and like Stephanie area. Okay. And so it's in Eastern Henderson, not quite downtown, but like Eastern Henderson. Okay. So I selected this. And so a lot of apartment complex, you'll see that it kind of depends. So I'm in their 2 bedrooms. So I have the link. Let me type in the link here real quick, and then I'll show you the property, and then I'll take you through the chart. Okay, so when I click on those apartments, okay, it comes up with units. Okay, so it gives me, let's go to all. So it'll show me 1 bed, 1 bath, 1 bed, 1 bath. Those are above my budget. But if I get into the 2 bedrooms, then I can see, okay, this one's 1424. So I need to stay under 1760 or lower. So this would be in my budget. This would be in my budget. So I just selected this one. Okay. And it showed, actually, if you saw it, said they had 3 units available. So that's kind of nice. They have one available. That would be, or they have some available. Okay. So it's showing me what's available. And all right, so let's go to the overviews. So they've got pictures of some of the units. They got pictures of their pool. So it's got a pool. It's got a workout center. It's gated, gives me some pictures of, so this is interesting. You scroll down, so you can see a really updated unit, and then you can see one that clearly is not as updated, right? So that's one of those things, right? When you go in, maybe that could be the difference of why some rent is higher, some rent is, because it was 1476 to 1576. There was a bit of a range. So I bet the more updated ones are a little more expensive and stuff. All right, so it just gives me, they got a playground. So it just kind of gives me some idea of what it what it looks like, right? Here's an older unit. There's a newer unit. Okay. All right. So units. So I'm going to select kind of the mid-grade one. All right. So it says high-speed internet ready, washer, dryer included. So that's really nice. And then it tells me there's 2 units available right now. So probably maybe depending on if they're upstairs or downstairs unit or where they're located in the complex, or if they're updated or not, I'd have to ask about, what causes the price difference there. Let's see, overview. So it gives me a description. So they are pet friendly. So it shows me they're pet friendly. They have covered parking, detached garages available for rent, washer and dryer included, garbage, large closets. Okay, here we go. So pets, 2 max, tells me there's a deposit, one-time fee, and then $30 a month per pet. Shows me the local schools and some reviews. Okay, so let's go over to our chart. And what you're going to find is that you have to kind of dig. It's a little bit of like detective work to find some of the information that you need to find. And some of it you can't find, okay? So you do your best, but you can't be afraid to like click on things and do some searching. So for this one, I put city that I'm living in. I put Henderson, okay? I found the address. So the address I found right here at the top of the listing. So I just copy and pasted that in. So I'll put this in the chat for you. Or Ms. Carter, do you mind? You have it up. Do you mind doing that as I go through from the chart?
Here's the address.
Okay, so here's the address. So you can pull this. So you can fill this out with me. Okay, so there's the address. So the rent, I put 1,500-ish. So Ms. Carter, you can have it. So because again, some are a little lower, some are a little higher. So I just, there's a bit of a range. Okay. So this is the part, let's take a minute and talk about this. So splitting the rent. So let's say it's 1,500, then my portion would be 750, right? Because I split it in half. So I did 1,500 divided by 2 is 750, right? So now I have to figure out what is the percentage of my income. Okay. So here's how you do it. Once you know your portion of the rent, okay, I'm just going to divide that by my income. So I push 750 divided by 2,200, and that gives me 34%. Okay, so the way when you find properties, the way that you'll find out what percentage of your income it is, your portion of the rent, okay, is you take what the rent is and divide it by your income. So the smaller number divided into the larger number. So 750 divided into 2,200. So that gives me 34% of my income, okay? I wasn't able to find on their site where how long of a lease. So I just put a year. Pretty much most places require a lease. Some will do month to month, but you're going to pay a lot more. So let's assume we're going to sign some kind of lease. Usually it's a 6-month or 1 year. 1 year though, you tend to get the best rates. Okay. They tend to make it a little bit higher if you aren't signing a lease. Okay, let's see what's next. $200, so security deposit, $200 fee waive. Let me show you where I found that, okay? So let me see here. Again, overview. I have to sometimes you got to special offers, okay? So I went to special offers and here we go. So this is where you have to kind of search a little bit. You got to hunt a little bit, okay? So it says we're waiving the $200 security deposit on 1 and 2 bedrooms. We're waiving the $200 deposit OAC, I don't know what that is, an administrative fee.
On approved credit, OAC.
Oh, on approved credit. There you go. All right. So that's where it's incentivizes if you have decent credit. So usually I would guess, and again, it doesn't say it for sure, but most of the time when they say approved credit, it's usually about a 640, 650 or higher. Okay. So I want to see that 6 middle range or higher.
And don't forget, students, sometimes if they have a parent, like
yes, that's
signing
true.
the lease with them, they'll give them a better deal. Yeah. But again, it's something that you have to negotiate with the landlord.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So here you go. It says we have 2 fully renovated units still available. We'll take $500 off first full month. So there's some incentive there. So again, a lot of times this idea that you can negotiate rent down, that's kind of hard to do, but you can often get incentives, which is really nice. So that's another way of like saving money. So I put that under here, like overall condition. I put the $500 off waiving the deposit. So security deposit is $200 fee, but it's waived. All right. So that's really nice. Utilities included, trash, sewer, and internet. So when I went to, let me see, overview, facts and features, like I said, you got to hunt a little bit. So internet, satellite, so high-speed internet is included. It's listed there. Trash sewer in apartment complexes, at least from my experience, trash has always been included because you take it out to the dumpster, you know, you don't have to pay for it individually, and usually sewer and stuff like that. So every place will vary a little bit, but in apartments at least. Now townhomes, houses, that could be different. You know what I mean? But usually in apartments, it's not uncommon to see trash, sewer included. Okay. Utilities not included. So they're not going to list them, but let's be honest. So what other do we have? We have power, electric, gas, cable. You know what I mean? So those things are going to be, not every place will have gas. So it depends. But like, so, but anything left, right, you're going to be responsible for. Okay. So overall condition, I said newer. Specials, let me see, let me go here. Okay, so specials, specials will waive the security deposit and admin fee and then $500 off first month's rent. So that's kind of nice. So think upfront, if I can save $200 on the security deposit and $500 off my first month's rent, that's about $700. So sometimes you can't negotiate the rent down, but sometimes you can save up front. So you don't have to have as much cash up front because it's expensive to move. So that can be really helpful and go toward moving expenses or buying furniture or things like that that you might need. Are pets allowed? Yes. So let me show you where we had that information. So it's right here, policies. So they tell you 2 max, so cats or dogs, though there's breed restrictions. A lot of times, and it could be different, so you have to ask what's the size or what are the breed restrictions. So a lot of places when I rented before I bought a house, it was like 50 pounds, or a lot of them, sometimes they don't like Rottweilers or Shepherds, or sometimes pit bulls, you know, some of those breeds that unfortunately people think negatively of or something like that. So it's not uncommon to see them restricted. Cats, I'm not sure what breed would be restricted. So I'd have to ask. So I'm not sure. I'm not a cat person, so I don't know. And stuff like that. But you do want to ask. So just because they allow pets, you want to make sure, is there a weight limit and a breed restriction and stuff. So that's important to keep in mind. When I bought my first dog, which my Springer Spaniel that recently passed away, we were renting. And we specifically had to narrow our search because she was under 50 pounds and she was an accepted breed. So we wanted to get a dog, but finding one that fit their criteria, you know, because I originally wanted a lab, but they were too big and the rental place wouldn't allow it. Okay, so in our graph, I just put 2 max, $100 deposit, $200 fee, $30 per month per pet. Garage storage, it did say that they were available. So let me see, it was features, I believe. Insight management. Okay, they listed it. Maybe it was in the overview. They listed it. I swear I'm not making it up. Here we go. Detached garages, parking. Okay, so there are available for rent. Doesn't say anything about storage, but detached garages, usually in apartments, that's going to be an additional fee, but they do have them available. Okay, so they are available for rent. Washer, dryer, that's included. That was listed. Okay. So who do I contact to rent? So this sometimes, again, you have to dig a little bit. Okay, so it gave me the address, but I was like, how do I contact? So I did like request to apply. Now don't actually apply to see if I could get any information. No, but then I did a request to tour and look down here. It gave me the leasing agent. Okay, so who I would contact, you know, to talk to them about the rental. So that's where I found it. So sometimes you have to be a little bit of, you know, Columbo, or, you know, you have to like kind of search a little bit. Or it says it right here, listed by, you know, so sometimes you just have to kind of search a little bit and find that contact information. Okay, so dates of availability date. So it listed that two units were available now. One was available in June. So it depends. Is it a freestanding property? Like, is it a house? Then obviously they're just listing that one house. When it's apartment complex, they're listing in general, right? And so you have to dig a little bit more to see. So pros. So this is you kind of summing up the listing. So I kind of looked through the pictures and I looked through their overview of what they included. So this is how I came up with my list a little bit. Okay. So I put affordable, and that it's under my 40% max. It's at 34%. It's newer. They have a pool, garages are available. There's a fitness center. It's gated. It's near the freeway. So I just named some of the things that I would think would be pros. Now, con, maybe depending on location, maybe you don't want to be in Henderson, maybe it's too far out. The limit on the dog size or breed, you know, could be hard. could be hard. So those are things to maybe think about. And maybe you come up with something else. These were just from my perspective. So, you know what you could put? Some units remodeled, some older. So making sure, you know, are you going to get a newer unit or an older unit? Because definitely the new units look really nice, but the older units, they don't look bad, but there's a big difference, right? Okay. The pictures are not copy and pasting, so don't worry about the pictures. When you look up your listing, so they're not required to have the pictures. So all I did is I was able to do it on my own computer. I just literally hovered over the picture. So just hovered over the picture. Whoops, let me go back. Go back. So just hovered over it, copy image, and then just pasted it in there, okay? But if you're on your phone and then you're doing it on your Chromebook, then you probably won't be able to do images, and that's okay.
But you could say if the images were available. So if you can't
just say
do it yourself, just put in photos available from website.
Yeah, okay. If you're able to, so if you're able to do it on the same device, so if you're able to do it on your computer, then you can copy and paste them over. It's pretty quick. Took me less than a minute. Okay, so as you can see, most of this information I was able to get. Some of it, though, I had to kind of guess a little bit. So exactly what would the rent be? Well, they kind of gave me a range, so I don't know exactly. So I kind of estimated the year lease. They didn't really list the leasing terms, but I'm going to assume probably a year lease when it's a complex like this, they're going to want a year lease, or I'm going to get the best rate at a year lease, especially if they're going to waive these fees. Guarantee they're going to want a lease. I'd be shocked if they would give you those and then you go month to month. That's not common. That's how they incentivize you to stay or to sign a lease. You know, it's that kind of exchange. Any questions?
Jedediah wanted to know if the pictures are necessary, and I was going to let him know that, you know, yeah, it'd be nice if you could, but if you're blocked because some sites will not let you make copies of their photos, you would just say photos available from apartment website.
Yes. And what you could do is just put, so like you can see, I put the link to the property. Here, I'll put the link to the property in your chat so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you want to, you could put the link to the property above it if you wanted. You don't have to, but it can help. Okay, so it made it easier for me as I'm coming back and showing you guys. It's easier for me to have the link there, right? So I can go back to that property versus trying to find it every time on Zillow because there's a ton of properties. So what you're going to do now with the rest of the class period, okay, is you can see that there's 2 more that need to be filled out, okay? So you're going to put the city above the property. So again, you don't have to do Henderson. So you could do North Las Vegas, you could do Summerlin, you could do Vegas, you could do Boulder City, or if you're looking at moving, I don't know, maybe looking to move to Phoenix or San Diego. I don't know. Okay, so it doesn't have to be in Vegas, but if you're planning on staying around, let's make it realistic. You know what I mean? Might as well make it applicable. And then you go through and you fill out the chart. Okay, and again, some things you might have to kind of guess a little bit, or something where you got to hunt for a little bit, do the best you can. Like I said, some of them will directly state that they want a lease. Sometimes they won't, but I guarantee most properties want a year lease. Like you'll get the best deal or preferential of being picked. Personally, if I'm a landlord, I am not going to pick somebody that says they want a month to month versus someone who says they want a year lease. I'm going to go with the year lease because that's why, because that's more security, right? That's somebody who I know is going to stay and hopefully get more rent. Because if you leave in 3 months and I got to relist it again and it's a lot of work, you know, on both ends. So most places they would like a lease. They don't always require it, but that definitely helps. So you do that for 2 properties, okay? And you can do it all from the same search engine. So you could do it all from Zillow or Facebook Marketplace or Trulia or any of those places that are listed. They give you on the document right up here, they give you some options. I don't like Craigslist, so I personally wouldn't do Craigslist. I think Facebook Marketplace, you can find some good stuff on there.
Craigslist is kind of sketchy and it's not very reliable. You want to go with a reliable source like rent.com, apartments.com, Zillow, you know.
I think the big searchers are easier. Zillow, rent.com, or Trulia.com. Any of those, I think you're just do one search and then find a couple properties in your area. And honestly, it'll just save you time. You don't have to do new searches every time.
Yeah. And guys, remember about safety too when you're going around looking at apartments or homes or things like that. Don't, let somebody know where you're going. Go with someone like a friend, that can maybe look at things more objectively
Yeah.
for you. And just remember to be safe. And if your little radar says, I don't know about this place, then you don't know about this place. So move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust
And
your
especially
instincts.
if you're meeting somebody at a property, you want to make sure that you're telling somebody where you're going at the property address and stuff like that. Because, I mean, 99% of the time you'll be safe, but you never know. And you just want to make sure that somebody knows where you're at.
Yeah.
Now,
And
the last
and this is not gender specific, guys. This
No,
is,
no, no.
this is anybody. I don't care who you are, how big you are, how old you are. You should always just be, cautionary.
So this last part says, what are at least 5 important considerations when renting? So there's 2 articles you can reference. I found article 2 to be a lot more helpful. So I wouldn't even bother with article 1, honestly. I'm just keeping it real. All right. And you can literally pull 5 things from this list. So when you're signing a lease, making sure that you're reading really carefully, like, what are the cancellation exceptions? What is the term of the lease? What are the fees? The extra utilities, parking, water, things that you're responsible for beyond just the rent, So those are things that you would maybe want to consider. So, read over lease carefully. Another one that they talk about, taking pictures when you move in. So, recording the condition of the property. Taking pictures when you move in, for condition of property, so that especially if there's any damage to the property or something that's kind of older, that you're documenting that you weren't the cause of it, because you could be held responsible when you leave. Okay. Yeah. So take those photos, take those pictures. Let's do another one. Let's see. So checking out the neighborhood. So when I say checking out the neighborhood, what you want to check out is, obviously safety. Today. Check out the neighborhood, but look for, so kind of, what's the vibe and stuff like that. But you're looking for, grocery store. You're looking for gas station, places to eat. Freeway, if you have to commute, how close are you to accessibility of a freeway? So you want to think about those conveniences a little bit when you're doing that. Another one, let's see, you want to make sure you're not paying too much rent. So that's a really good one. So make sure you are under the 40%, for your portion, splitting the rent. Okay, so make sure, because you want to be able to live comfortably. You don't want to be broke. That's the goal. Okay. And then make sure that you take the person that you're renting with to the appointment. So take possible roommate to see property. Because if you find it and then they move in and they're like, oh, I don't like this. You know what I mean? Like you want to feel like they're on board. Okay. So I'll copy and paste. We kind of did it together, so I'm helping you out. Yep. There you go. Okay, and you can put those in the bottom part. So we have about 10 minutes left. So with these 10 minutes, me and Miss Carter can help, or if you're having a hard time finding something, but let's try and get at least one property done, and then you'd have to do one on your own. Okay, so we did the first one. So pull up Zillow or pull up rent.com or pull up Trulia, or you could do Facebook Marketplace. I personally like the bigger sites. They're helpful. And put in your search, move the map to your part of town and find a couple places. Okay. And again, don't be afraid. You're going to have to hunt a little bit sometimes for some of the info. It's as you saw, that's why I kind of did that, talked you through that first one. Okay. So let's take the next 10 minutes and try to at least get one more property done. Okay, before we end class today. And then let us know if you have any questions. Yeah, it's fun to look at different properties, okay? And actually select ones that you would actually think about doing. Don't just pick the cheapest one, okay? Do you really want to live in one that's completely run down and it's, nice stuff? And don't maybe pick the nicest one, So when you report damage, sometimes something's worn out. So they're supposed to, that's one of the things, you want to inspect the property before you sign the lease, because you want to make sure that the that the property's in decent condition, right? That things are working before you sign, and then documenting that. So if something is older, or, you know, let's say damage to the carpet or something like that, you know, flooring, or the walls aren't freshly painted, you know, maybe there's a little bit of, you know, some holes and things like that. You want to make sure that you document that so they don't hold you fully responsible for the wear and tear. And most of the times properties are fixed before you move in. That's what they're supposed to do. Landlords are supposed to. So should and could sometimes, you know, but that's why you want to walk the property before you sign. Check the toilets, check the faucets, like check that the fridge is cold, you know, turn on the stove, like things that you seem really stupid, but you want to make sure, you know, are done. And if something's not working, that you can say, hey, like, what about this, you know? Because once you sign that lease, they're responsible for fixing things. But once you sign that lease, you are locked in, you know, and you just want to make sure that you're covering yourself.
Marie, the security deposit is what they will charge you in addition to your rent as a security for them. If they have to go in and fix something, then they have like a little pot of money. When you buy a house, they call it escrow, or they call it something along those lines. So that's why the security deposit, you really want to make sure you're paying close attention, because sometimes they'll say, oh, there's a security deposit, but if you don't ask, it could be a whole month's worth of rent. So they want your first month's rent and a second month's rent as security deposit. So you're looking at double the amount of money. So ouch. So again, make sure that it's something that you can handle, and of course something you and your roommate can do together.
The other reason they get security deposit too sometimes is sometimes people leave without paying their last month's rent, or they will short them. So they'll use that to help with the expense, or or damage done, like, you know, a hole in the wall, or flooring is ripped, or, you know.
Yeah, some people aren't very nice if they get evicted, or they have to leave suddenly, or what have you. Some people can be kind of mean when it comes to their places. So it's to protect the apartment unit.
And that's eligible to get that back. So for example, I have a rental property, so I'm the landlord on the property and stuff. So we collect a security deposit, which is equal to a month's rent because it's a house. And then when they move out, we inspect the property. And if there's damage, then we deduct it from that to help us pay to repair the property. And it's like wear and tear damage. So not like, oh, the stove broke and I need to fix that, but like holes in the wall, or the flooring's damaged, or something like that. And then anything left, then you send them a check. They get the rest of that back. Or again, if they don't pay that last month's rent when they're moving out.
But always check to make sure that the security deposit is refundable, and what are they going to look at in order for you to get your full refund. So that's always very important.
I believe in the state of Nevada, it's required. Like there's specific laws about that. So I'm pretty sure like you can't, because anytime I've done it, like if I keep anything out, you have to itemize it. You have to have receipts. Like it has to be documented.
Yeah. Arizona, I don't think they were that picky. California was very picky.
Okay. Yeah. I know here.
I don't know about this state.
It has to be documented. Like you have to basically send them an invoice of what you kept and why, to justify. And then you got to take pictures of it, because if it's challenged, you have to be able to prove. That's why it's important to take the before pictures and the after pictures. So, you know, on both sides, for landlords and for tenants, you know, cover yourself. So we're due about 5 more minutes. Again, try to get that property done, you know, and stuff. If you can get both, that's great. All right. But at least, because this is due next Tuesday, and then Monday, we're going to do number 7 and number 15. I'll introduce both. All right. And those will be the last things due for the quarter. For the year. All right, everybody. I hope you were able to at least get one property done. And stuff. And again, you can kind of use that sample one we did together as an example. So you only have to do 2. And then remember, I put in the chat those 5 things. Me and Miss Carter put the 5 things in the chat. So that bottom part where you're supposed to read the article and come up with 5 things to consider when renting a property, you can paste those in. All right. So you've gotten about 50% help on this task sheet, which is really nice. Okay. So for tomorrow, make sure you get those last 2 Everfi assignments done. Okay. So the one on affording higher education and insurance. Okay. Remember, the first 4 Everfis in financial literacy are closing this Friday, and that's all in the announcement. I have already posted the announcement for tomorrow, so you can see it. What is due, what's still open. So if you are one of those people who are running to the finish line trying to get your grade up, you can see what's due. Okay. And then what is still open. Okay, and when it is closing. And yes, there are some things closing this Friday, and then the rest are open until next Friday. Okay, because everything I've done extended deadline. So I've done the 1 week, grace period, and then the extra week. Okay, so you've already gotten double the times. Once they close, they're done. Okay, if you need any help tomorrow, come see me in the morning. I'm available from 9 to 11:30, or you can see Miss Carter. All right, we're happy to help you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday, and we will work on tasks 7 and 15. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye, Miss Carter.